No.
Always takes a little while for it to click in. You tell me when you're ready to go.
I'm ready.
We're always ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, we should just start then.
Okay.
Hayley Birtles-Eades. Did I say that right?
No.
No. Hang on. Let me just let me bring you up. So there we go. Hayley Birtles-Eades.
I like
Get
it.
my head out the way.
That's all right.
Hayley Birtles-Eades. Is that how
Hayley
you say it?
Birtles-Eades. Or if you are trying to sell me something, Hayley Birtles-Eades.
Oh, Birtles-Eades. And then you just go, that's not me. Now, I didn't also notice there you're with Beinc or Beinc.
Beinc.
Oh, you're going to have to tell me what that is because I have no idea. I'm a bit confused.
So we're a branding and communication strategy agency.
Right.
So also AKA
Yes.
professional attention seekers.
Ah!
Yes.
A professional attention seeker, so you got to make us look good. Or-
Literally,
Yeah.
you know, we don't polish turds, so we
Yeah.
make people who do good things
Yeah.
or great things look good.
I actually saw on your Facebook page that you had professional attention seeker.
Yeah.
So is that part of the whole thing? Because when I read that, I go, oh, she's a professional attention seeker, so she's a bit of a narcissist.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you-
Do you know what it came from? When I was a kid in high school, and because I had ADHD and all the stuff, sit down, rocking on the back of the chair, disengaged, bored with what the teachers were teaching me.
Right.
I was told that I was, and so what I'd do is act out, and I'd always be poking my nose into other people's business. So rather than focusing on what I was doing in front of me, I was like, can I help here? Can I problem solve here? And I got then labelled as an attention seeker. It's in all of my school reports.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like a bit of a stuff you kind of girl. I'm going to make, if they're going to say that about me, then I'm going to make money from it, and I'm also going to help other people do that. Because I wasn't trying to seek attention. I was trying to help people and solve people's problems.
So are you an 80s girl? Like grew up in the 80s?
I'm born 78, so yeah,
So-
80s, 90s.
So when you went to school, was there that, like she's got ADHD, so we medicate
No.
her to the hill?
No, that was not a thing back then.
No. But you're UK, you come from the UK.
Yeah. I was just the naughty kid.
Yeah.
I was a naughty kid because I was understimulated. I wasn't cut for academia. It's not something that or structure, to be honest. I'm a big advocate for kind of disruption as opposed to structure. Though maturity teaches you that you need disruption has its place, and it's vital when you're trying to get attention or get eyes on a prize. If you want to get attention or get something to go viral, you have to know how to disrupt anything. However, you've got to have a structure underneath. So if you set off a bomb, you've got to have stuff to kind of capture it down and then push it through to that funnels and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Did you just say bomb?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you say those words, and I think what YouTube does is they just go, right, that's it.
Bomb. Bomba-clad.
No, can't say any of that. We can't say Coonabarabran because you can't say
No, you're not
coon,
allowed.
or coon cheese. Can't do any of that.
You can't say much these days.
Well, you try to say as much as you can, but then
You see what we can get away with. That's what I do.
Look, but I like the way that you say you grew up and there was no such thing as ADHD back then. What it was just you're a disruptive child. Do you remember the TED talk that a guy by the name of Sir Ken Robinson did? And he talks about he gives this story about a young girl that goes to school and she's very disruptive. And
Me.
Yeah, that's me too. Like, rather than trying to focus on numbers on the board, she's looking outside or she's moving. And she went into a psychiatrist's office, and her mother had said, I think my child has an issue. And the psychiatrist says, when they left the room, they actually said, let's leave her to herself, put some music on, leave her to herself, we'll go outside. And then the psychiatrist had said, your daughter hasn't got an illness, your daughter is a dancer. Like, she wants to get up and she wants to move.
Yes.
She can't be sitting down in a chair. But isn't that amazing about education is what we tend to do is that with this wonderful body of ours that we have, education system focuses on the head and purely to one side of that head, which is the left-hand side. And so I guess in your upbringing and my upbringing, it was like, okay, we won't medicate you to try to study something, but what we'll do is we may find what she
I think back when we were kids, creative industries were unrepresented, right? So, you know, being the dancer, the painter, the whatever, it was you didn't have representation. So they're all coming out of like industrial based. We needed mathematicians, doctors, nurses, teachers. So the world needed that And anything else outside of that, it's kind of like, oh, it's on the peripherals. You're not playing ball. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Right? So I think now with the rise of creative, that's why I'm so passionate about creative industries. I do a lot of talks on it and kind of advocate for that. We're working with QUT and Billy Blue and places like that. Creative industries is huge. It's huge. And you know what? Most businesses need, in fact, all businesses need creative industries in this day and age. But creative industries doesn't need all businesses. Does that make sense?
That does.
Right? So no matter which way you look at it, and it's so undervalued. It's such an undervalued industry. And it's sad because these kids are being medicated and told that, okay, you're a painter, you're a dancer, you must get a university degree.
Yeah.
Which is an absolute crock. These people are hocking themselves up to the eyeball, getting into debt, $80,000, $100,000 in debt to do what they naturally do.
Interesting.
It's insane.
And then they demand that they get paid the relevant salary because I'm now educated and I have an MBA or I have a diploma or I have a PhD. I should now, because I've paid 100,000, 120,000, I should now be earning 120 to 150,000. I'm not going to take anything less.
Correct.
Whereas when I grew up, going to university or going to college was a big thing. Like there was trade school where you could become a carpenter or a woodworker. Yeah. But going to university was a thing.
It is a thing.
Wow, are you going to university? You must be smart. But now it's not about your smartness or your intellect. It's about how much money can we get from you to push you into an area that you may not want to really go in. And you've got a year to decide. And then after that year, you can leave. It's okay. We've got 1 year's worth of funds from you anyway.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, that's why I kind of I don't for years. Don't get me wrong. I respect university, and I know that the one thing that university does teach is that strategy and structure. Because no matter what you do, and I think off air before we were talking about having to kind of like bring something down, it's got to be funneled. You can't just disrupt something and set off. Oh, it wasn't off air. It was before with the bomb. Yes. You've got to be able to pull it back down and then have that repetitive continuity, and most creatives struggle with that. Let
me talk a little bit about your business, Beinc.
Yes.
Do you get many, like in my field, I wear this shirt a lot because, we talk about doing the self-test. Is what you're about to do stand up to scrutiny? Is it ethical? Is it legal? And is it fair?
Yeah.
And so in my role, it's about de-escalating potentially hostile and violent situations. Do you get a lot of hostile people in your
not business? Not a lot, but occasionally you do get the odd client that just kind of you don't vibe with, or they do the wrong thing, or they misunderstand or undervalue what you're doing, and that can create resentment. So we get some spiky customers.
How do you handle them? Like, what's the way that you handle them?
Look, first off, we've got each situation is different, so we go backwards and forwards, and obviously through emails and try and solve the problem. We're problem solvers at the core, but sometimes you don't understand other people's motives of why they're behaving certain ways. So we do our best to try and understand where the customer's at. And then look, if all else fails, we fire them. I know that sounds brutal, but
I love that.
Sometimes you just got to get the bad eggs out.
Just got to get rid of them sometimes. Where do you think the future of business is going? We're talking a lot about AI now. So there's everything that you want to do. There's AI. I want to find out information. I just jump onto, GPT.
Chat GPT.
That one too.
Yeah.
Jump onto there. I can now get videos. This whole video here, if I wanted to, there's another link that's called Opus Clips. And what you do with that, I can grab this 60-minute interview, whack it into Opus Clips, and it will give me 8 60-second clips with transcripts about what we were talking about.
How good is it?
I know, but how's it go? Good. How would it go in your business?
Amazing. I mean, I was having this conversation today. We're just building out a piece of software and a structure for another business that we're doing. And AI is like IKEA. Right, there's so many tools you can, and it's all in one place, and it's all accessible. It's just you can't have everything. And I think the trick with AI is having ultimate clarity around what you want your business to do, identify the problem you're solving, and then look for the AI tools that are going to solve that problem, because it can be really overwhelming.
It's interesting. The day of you get these graphic designers, and then Canva came out, and then Canva, everyone's doing their own graphic designs. But even when I use Canva, I have to admit, I look at Canva and I just go, I can do all that, but but the creativity is not there. Like I just look like, I don't know, I look like the old style 2D logo that just doesn't have any depth. Yeah. It just doesn't have anything. So
you can do it yourself.
You can. Like, I'm sure you can
change your own oil, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the right result. You know, you can change your own oil in your car. You can spin an oil filter, but you know you've got to be able to. You can bootstrap the shit out of anything, and it'll get you so far. But to be professional and to have longevity, you've got to engage professionals. If you're in the business of selling jam, then you need to focus on recipe and the jam and exploring that as an industry and a market, not trying to be a graphic designer. Leave the graphics and those types of things and those technical side of things to the professionals. You know?
So my ADD's kicked in too.
Okay, go.
So I have to ask you a question.
Go on.
Does jam belong in the fridge or in the cupboard? See, this conversation's just gone off track now.
No, I actually do enjoy it out of the fridge. It depends. Fig jam belongs in the cupboard. Strawberry jam belongs in the fridge.
All right. Okay. Because I could go further. I could say peanut butter.
No, that's an absolute cupboard.
Is that a cupboard?
If you're putting it in a fridge, you can't. How can anyone spread anything on a piece of toast?
I know that's just it. Yeah. Anyway, see, now I've lost where I am. See, and I think that's maybe we're in the same ilk. We're cut with the same cloth. Is that our academia is there because we can still learn. I can still learn anything.
Yeah.
But I think my preference is that, you know, be able to have a conversation like this, because I guess there are some people that have the left brain knowledge, but they couldn't do just a simple conversation.
No.
Or they have a lot of right brain and they don't have too much of the structure. I'm not good with structure. As you can see, there's
I'm terrible.
You're not good with structure either?
No, I'm struggling sitting here.
Really?
Mate, I want to move. I'm thinking
I wish
about...
we could see your pants. Can you bring your pants up?
Yeah.
I said something. Look at that. Because when you mentioned painter, you actually mentioned painter because you're painting.
Well, no, I do. I'm an artist at my core. Like, since I was a kid, I would paint and do all sorts of creative stuff. But, you know, we've just taken on a client recently, an incredible artist, actually. Incredible artist. So I've been a bit inspired to pull out my painter pants. And that's why I'm wearing them. Because at the moment, I'm just like, I need to reconnect back with that tangibility.
So you weren't doing any painting today? What you were doing is you just thought, I've got to wear these. These are cool. This is
what I'm wearing today, yeah.
I won't stand up and show what I'm wearing. I've got board shorts on.
Do you ever go through the process of like, I'm going to show up somewhere and it's kind of like, is this appropriate?
No.
It's never appropriate.
No, nothing is.
No, it doesn't matter. You have to show up and listen into the vibe of what you want. You need to put yourself first and where you're at. For me to sit here in some kind of like nice get up to kind of
hard.
Be that professional kind of, there's times and places for that. But for me, when I'm having a combo,
it's interesting. I was talking to a mate of mine last week, Chris. G'day, Chris. How you going? Hope you're doing well. Chris was talking about conscious biases. Have you heard of that fancy word, conscious bias?
Yeah.
Like if he dresses up in a suit and I dress up in a t-shirt, the bias is that I look at Chris and I go, "Hey, Chris, you're looking very professional." And he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, you've got a big beard. You've got a big beard.
Yeah.
You know, you slick your hair back and you ride a motorbike. You must be a bikie."
Yeah.
Do you believe conscious biases are a thing or a stereotype, and do we have to change it?
They're absolutely 100% a thing, and it depends on what you're trying to do with it. In business, it's a thing.
Yeah.
We're humans. You know, like people do judge.
Yeah.
People go, try not to judge. Why? You should judge.
We have to. Fight or flight, isn't it?
It's how we survive.
Yeah.
You need to judge. You're sizing people up. Are you my people? Am I going to be safe if I share my space with you? So I don't think it should be something that you try and eradicate. I just think you should try and kind of like lean into it and try and make sure that it works in the situation that you're in.
It's interesting. In a month and 10 days or something. What are we today? The 7th? Yeah. 1 month and 7 days. In 1 month and 7 days, we'll all be going to the polls and we're going to be voting on a referendum is whether we should recognise our Indigenous cultures. And on the face of it, I think, what a great thing that is.
That sounds beautiful. If you said no to that, you would be pinned as what?
Right. You would have to. Yeah. You would probably be pinned. In fact, I had a conversation with a mate last night, and he said, if the no vote gets through, Australia will be seen as a racist nation. Now, that's like me saying, I was trying to give it an analogy, and it's like saying, oh, if you're gay, that must mean that everyone's a groomer, which is just not true.
No, of course not.
So I think when somebody makes blanket or hyperbolic statements like that, it undermines what the referendum is all about. So I'm not going to ask you what your views are, because everyone has views, and I think they're meant to be kept private. But there are a lot of people that sprout. And if you are looking at the noise that's out there and you're scrolling past, it's so hard to come to the truth or the facts. Why is that?
You know, because people are being paid millions of dollars to tap into NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, of how people operate, how to manipulate people through words, sound, colour, typography, words, and how to motivate people to do something. Yeah. So it's really freaking difficult these days to be able to discern what is right and what is wrong. And I'm a big advocate for, if you don't know enough, just don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
Or if you care enough about it, be open to yeses and nos. You know, be okay with both.
Yeah, be okay with both. Like, have a conversation about it. Too many people are afraid to have that conversation.
They are, and they feel like they have got to get in.
Got to get on camp.
Literally had this conversation with a staff member in my office today. Yeah. You know, we were talking about it, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm going to keep my opinions to myself." I said, "Don't. Okay. You know what? I love you. I respect you." Yeah. We had a bit of a cuddle. It was great. And I actually think it's a really important thing to kind of not turn around to somebody and say, "Keep your opinion to yourself."
Okay.
Be opinionated, but be respectful, and be okay with not having to agree. We don't all have to agree. You know, we can understand and come from a place of understanding. I could have a conversation with you now, and then in that moment, change my view. Yeah. Change how I feel about something, and change my decision, because that's part of being a human being. And if you are so linear and so locked into one way, you're ripping yourself off. You're robbing yourself of an opportunity to learn and grow.
It's interesting that, with the Yes campaign, they've now secured the John Farnham voice, or the song, which is You're the Voice. Try and understand it. Now, I had a bit of a beef with that whole phrase there. You're the voice, try and understand it. It's try to, people. You can't try and anything. It's try to understand. If we're going to get grammatically correct here. See, my ADD's just kicked in again. So that's the yes part of the campaign. And then the no campaign is maybe going with the seekers, which is all around we are one, but we are many.
Yeah.
And through all the lands
on earth
we come. Right. Because do you think that, like you and I are right here now, we're divisive? You know, there's one side of the fence on the screen because we're dividing the screen.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is dividing Australians? It's dividing us on making a decision with where you stand.
When you introduce the idea of people having to choose one thing or another, of course it's divisive. And anything else, when they're telling you it's not, that's the definition of gaslighting. It's quite literally, they're asking you to choose. It's like having, going through a breakup with parents and saying you've got to choose one or the other. Actually, there is another option.
Yeah.
You can choose not to participate, but also, there's fors and against doing that. So it's a really tough time for everyone. After everything we've been through in the last 3 years to get to this and then have this to deal with, I think people are tired, man. They're exhausted.
Look, you're absolutely right. And I think,
and that puts us in a danger zone.
Yeah, we are tired. It's like, what do Australians want? If I can speak about myself, what do I want? I want affordable housing. Yeah. I want to be able to put food on the table at affordable prices.
Yeah.
I want to be able to maybe go and cross the border.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of months, but there is talk now of another big, massive virus that's coming through, and people are now living in fear. It's going, what are they going to do to us this time? Like, what's going to happen? Or do you think people have gone, hey, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Well, let's talk about fear, right? So you just said, people are living in fear. Fear is actually the currency. That's what they're using. That's quite literally everything. They're controlling everybody through fear.
How so? Talk to me more about that.
Well, it's no different from what the Big H did with the old war,
Right, okay.
And propaganda. So like I said back earlier, NLP and neuro-linguistic programming, you can control people. I could control the audience right now.
Yeah.
I could control this energy right now and be like, bang, and disrupt, and you would have a visceral reaction. You'd have a feeling, and then on top of that, you'd have a thought and an emotion, and all of those things can be, it's mathematics.
Well, I would challenge you on that. You would say something like, because I understand neuro-linguistic programming very well. Okay?
I don't.
I studied it. I know it extremely well.
I don't, and I haven't, but I just know it intrinsically. I understand it.
However, you said something which I want to push back on. You said something like, you can control this conversation here, and I would have a visceral response if I allowed it.
If you allowed
it. And if I thought, wow, I'm living in fear.
Yeah.
So whatever Hayley says, she must be right. Rather than me going, hey, hang on. Yeah, that's good. Hang on.
Yeah.
Let me just see more about, because I don't understand it. I don't get it. So let me do some.
But you're an anomaly.
Da-da-da-da. Isn't that a song?
I don't know, is it?
Anomaly.
You're not part of the larger population, and in order to be able to get these votes across and get mass compliance and things like that, you're not their target, and you wouldn't be the target.
And rightfully so. If anyone is going to make a decision based on a song, whether it's You're the Voice or We Are One, We Are Many.
Yeah.
If we are going to make a decision based on a song, I think we've got some other issues at play here.
Well, no different from everybody being enlisted over the last 3 years, celebrities being paid to promote certain things and push certain things. So they've got our number as a people.
There's this wonderful term around people are waking up.
Are they?
Well, there's a term out there. People are waking. In fact, I need to bring something as an example.
I like it. People are waking up.
I don't know. I was given this a while ago, and I might turn it this way, and it's just a simple hourglass. And at the top, we have a whole bunch of people who have been fed a lot of information. This is just an analogy. They've been fed a whole lot of information. And slowly, once they get to realise that they do their own research, they talk to a little bit more people, then once they come past the precipice and open themselves up to what's more out there, their whole world just opens up. And I think what happens here is a good analogy is that people are still stuck. And depending on where you are in this hourglass, once you punch through, regardless of the side that you want to fit in, you will then decide, my world has opened up. So a question I have... Well, go on.
Well, on that, what's important, that part where they're starting to receive information, which is that tiny, like the little bottleneck.
Yep. Yes.
What's important is that's the bit where they're starting to do their own research, right? What are they researching?
Yep.
Once they get to that point of saying, I've done my research, they've then got to have confidence in the fact that they've researched the right information.
Isn't it interesting about people who will say, oh, you've done your research, have you? You looked on YouTube, did you?
Most people will not research both.
Oh, but you did it on YouTube.
They'll be looking to prove themselves right, not prove themselves wrong. And that takes courage and confidence to be able to look for both sides. I'm a big fan of it. I want to be wrong. I don't want to be right about the atrocities that go on. I want to be wrong.
Do you want to be wrong, or do you want to just have information that you can make a...
agile decision?
Yes, or informed consent. I think that's the word that was going around the last 3 years. And people were just going, I want the government to help me. I'm so locked up in all this. I need the government to help me. How do I get them to get me out of this issue here?
Yeah.
And from what I've heard is tyranny is something around that you will have a dictator that will say, we will create the problem. Then what we will do is that we will then have a solution to the problem and just drip feed you by giving you maybe $1,000 because you can't work now.
Yep.
And then the rest of us that'll turn around and go, see, the government's actually really good.
Oh, it's so scary.
It is scary.
It's so scary. It's a thing. So, I mean, we can sit here and like say and argue that's not it. That's just, that's something that a conspiracy theorist would say. Like that's a really kind of jaded way to look at life, but that's the reality of it. Doesn't mean you have to be sad. Just have the awareness.
Yeah.
Know about it and then create your own economy and don't ever allow someone to drip feed you anything. You should be out there trying to push forward to create your own thing. So it's very scary. I get it, right? It's daunting and overwhelming. I'm a big personality. You're a big personality. We stand strong with, you know, kind of our ability to be able to receive and give.
Do you think that comes from upbringing, experience, circumstances, trauma?
I read something recently. You've got to have a healthy amount of childhood trauma to be able to survive. Not no childhood trauma.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you've got to have the right amount of healthy childhood trauma, and they're the ones that usually survive and thrive and have the ability to help others.
Maybe just to put some context around that, give me an example of a healthy amount of childhood trauma. Yes. Like, I mean, from me sitting here, I would say I went to an all-boys Christian Brothers school.
Yeah.
Okay? There was one female teacher, and she was in the arts department. But everyone else was a male. So a healthy amount of childhood trauma was, there was bullying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Packing order would have been hectic.
It was rife, but you just knew, like, I was a tennis player. I wasn't a football player, a cricket player. And if you think about Christian Brothers, we're all about rugby. All about rugby and cricket. But I'm a tennis player. Yeah. It's like, oh, when are you playing tennis? You know, what's that all about? And so the healthy amount of bullying there was more verbal, but how much of it do you think, when you say childhood trauma, what's the healthy amount?
All different for different types of people, because I don't think you can identify it. It's just kind of like the only thing you can gauge it from. I'm 45 and I've been through an awful lot in my life, as a child, as a young adult, even recently. You know what I mean? It's a really bloody good question, and one that I can't answer, but I've had some pretty hectic things happen to me, and I actually don't look back on it and use it as an excuse. For me, I can look back and say, I'm actually good.
Is there a bit of, if I have victim mentality, people will listen to me and they will empathise with me, and I'm brave.
Yeah, that's can be overutilised as well. Yeah, just try not to use it as your backstory, but use it as your driver. It's not a lead-in. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Say that again. So use it as your backstory. So this is what's happened.
Don't use it as your backstory to kind of announce to everybody, hey, you know, I've survived child abuse, or I've survived this. That's just a driver for you. Your own personal drivers that actually push you forward, that help you make decisions and keep you out of danger. You know?
I like that. I like that. Yeah, I think some people do use it. Some people do use it as from surviving to thriving. I think that's what it was. So I started off as a victim. That did me a little bit of good. It was good to talk about my victim mentality, because I got so much. I think I got a lot of people who were relating to me. But then they go home. Yeah. And then they sit in their lounge or with their partners or whatever it is that they do, but they still hold on to that. Well, at least I got 200 likes. You know, I got validation. Yeah. I'm a victim of that. Yeah. Word victim. I've done that. We've all done it. And you'd be sitting here lying if we said that we don't seek a validation. Yeah. I think most people, a healthy amount of validation is okay, but when you're living, eating, sleeping, breathing for likes, comments, shares, and sitting on like, what do people care? You've got to care what people think if you're trying to get attention. You just can't care too much. Otherwise, you just go around in a circle and you'll be unhealthy. Been there, done it. Are you a consumer of mainstream media?
No. Well, I used to be. I'm a recovering addict. Yeah.
I don't know why I asked that question. I just think sometimes you can get the feeling that people who listen to, say, corporate media or legacy media, mainstream media, whatever we want to call it, there's a certain viewpoint that we tend to have. Do you think we've lost the art of journalism?
Oh, God, yeah, definitely.
I mean, who did you listen to when you grew up? No, but you're UK, so who are your...
Oh, but I came here when I was 13. So, okay. Look, Judge Judy...
Yeah, get where you're coming from. Yeah.
Judge Judy, I lived for that. Do you know, she gave me the right amount of moral guidance. There's some stuff going on in my, childhood life between my parents when they were trying to sort their own stuff out. And I would sit and try and get some stability and go to people like her just because I would sit and watch and go, there is justice. Yeah. Despite everything that's going on in this world, there's people out there that make things fair. So, you know, I was experiencing unfairness as a child, and I would always have this deep-seated feeling of this is not fair, everything, why does this stuff happen to me? It may not have been conscious. Looking back now, I go, that's how I was feeling. But I anchored to people like Judge Judy.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
There's nothing wrong with that, because I know if my father's watching this right now, I don't think he is, because he might be on his 4th whiskey by now, but he loves 2 great shows, and the first show is Judge Judy and the second one's Bonanza.
Yeah,
and he thinks
yeah.
we should be bringing back more Westerners.
Yeah.
And I asked him the other week when I was down there, I said, why should we watch, you know, more shows like Bonanza? And he says, because they should people.
Because they should people.
They should people. With a heavy Austrian accent. And I said, is that a good thing? He says, but only on TV. I went, oh, okay, thanks for clarifying. Yeah, I see what you're going there. Yeah. So you're not a big consumer of mainstream media. I think we have lost the art of journalism. I do remember the days of the George Neguses, the Ray Martins back in the day.
Yeah, Ray Martin.
When they used to do the investigative journalism. But I've been looking lately about where do people get their stories from, and they're lazy. They're just getting them from TikTok now.
Well, that's recent, all that stuff. Again, another conversation I was having, like, you know, a few years ago, you'd have been, some of the stuff that's happened recently, personally to myself, I would be able to go to a news outlet and say, hey, this happened to me, and there'd be an outrage, and they'd get you on board, and it would be a 60 Minutes or an ACA or kind of like a 9 o'clock news kind of like back end story, and they'd take it. Now, not interested. It's all bought, all paid for. It's insane. I've never seen anything like it.
Do you truly believe that, or is that just something that you've heard?
No. Look,
sponsored by Pfizer.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Yeah.
Well, without being too... Well, I'm just going to say it. Like, at the end of the day, it's the drug cartels that run the world. It is a thing, and it's not because of what I've heard, it's what I've experienced in my life. I'm 45, been in business for 25 years. I'm an experienced marketer, brander, communication specialist. It's easy for me to look at something and go, oh shit. I understand how it's easy to get people that don't understand what's happening to them, but when you're a expert in a certain field and you're looking at something in front of you unfolding, it's easy to see, right?
You have kids?
I've got 3 of them.
Okay. Do you fear about what's going to happen with the increase in social media, with body positivity?
Yeah.
Everyone's beautiful. Everyone is okay. Things are good. Don't worry what anyone's saying. You hold your own. Do you think your kids are going to... one of 2 things will happen. They'll either get very good parenting, or they'll allow the community to parent them. No, Gerald.
No. My children have... Look, I don't stop them from... I treat them like people first, and make sure that obviously we're protecting them as children should be protected. I'm a big advocate for that. I do a lot of fundraising in that space. So, but I give them the respect to make their own decisions and let them have exposure to things. It's not about stopping them from being around certain things, like the Barbie movie. Yeah, I was torn because like, Mum, I want to go and watch Barbie. I'm like, okay, just as long as you're aware that there's going to be these types of things, these colours, typography, certain messaging. Look out for those things and just go and take it for what it is. Don't buy into it like as though you're going to live your life and, you know, in the Barbie world with Ken. I'm really proud of my kids. Yeah. You know, it was a rough ride for them.
They're still at school, aren't they?
They are still at school. Yeah. They struggled early on with, you know, lockdowns and mask wearing, but they held their ground. I'm really proud of them. Yep.
How did it affect them?
Socially, the judgment, they had to walk through that judgment of being judged because why aren't you wearing a mask? Or that's pretty hectic, you know, like having to announce publicly that you may or may not have a medical reason to not do something. I think that was pretty harrowing for an adult, let alone a child. So, but I'm proud of them because they managed to survive.
See, in the States now, because I think whatever happens in the States slowly starts to filter in, comes past New Zealand, they go hard, and then it comes to Australia, and then it kind of like starts to happen here. So there's already some states now and airlines in the US that have mandated the mask. And It's happened in Canada, and so it's going to eventually happen over here. What do you say when it's going to happen here? Like, what's going through your head? So you've got...
No mask, don't ask. Because there's a multitude of reasons.
Ouch.
Yeah. There's a multitude of reasons why somebody might not be able to wear a mask. You know, for myself, I had a legitimate exemption where I would get look, you see it a little bit here, but I get like a paradermal, what's it called? God. Anyway, a dermatitis type reaction to things on my face. I'm a sensitive soul.
Yes, fair enough.
Right, so I had that.
But you shouldn't have to explain that.
No, but you shouldn't. But unfortunately, we have to because of the judgment, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with necessarily explaining it. What about rape victims or victims of child abuse where they've had, you know, their mouths covered and, you know, triggering, and then having to kind of announce that whilst waiting in a line to get into a restaurant, why aren't you wearing a mask? Like, oh, you have a medical exemption? It's almost like flashing neon signs. This person's got an illness. It's kind of like, it's not okay. None of that is okay.
It was a bit ridiculous back in the day. If we take it just a step back, like I know there are a couple of my friends that will just go, you know, gee man, you're out of control. You know, you just should follow what the science is saying.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we're now 3 years down the track where people realise that those perspex barriers that were up in front of the shopping...
Well, hang on.
Yeah, go on.
Hang on. We were following what the science said.
Yeah.
And if people use a cool little tool called Wayback Machine, you'll be able to find out exactly what the science was saying right up until that point. I just wasn't going to buy into and believe what the propaganda machine was saying, what the television was saying, right?
Yeah.
So I was following the science. I did my research, proper research, masks, and you'll hear people that came on straight away, masks don't stop viruses.
Yeah.
And actually can be really harmful when not used correctly. And the use of them and how long they last for and why they use them in surgeries, it basically became more of a stamp or a mark for compliance. That really is what it came down to. Because if you remember early on, they introduced the masks and then they told everybody to stop wearing them. And then they were like, the marketers would have been like, guys, what are you doing?
Yeah.
This is great. We get to identify who's complying and who's not.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting. There's just some comments. You can probably see them coming up on the right-hand side of the screen. Some people are just commenting on what you're saying. I think Fergspan says, I sense a comeback, G-Man. So maybe there are some people that maybe are in fear again of maybe what they might be pushed into. But we've got to navigate how we're going to handle this sort of situation. You know, and you know, I'm not one for going, right, that's it. I'm just going to be anti whatever the government says. No, I'm not about that.
No, well, I actually like a lot of what the government's provided, but I just think, you know, there's good and bad people in everything. I'm really grateful for some of the structure, especially like growing up when we were kids, when we had the babies. There were, you know, there's all sorts of things, child benefits and things like that. And people go, oh, it's part of the system. It's like, well, you know, we can choose to live our lives like that, or we can take the best from what we've got. I think what they did in the last 3 years is an absolute shit show. And then it causes me to look back from historic events and then start to question everything. So, no, I'm not anti-government. I'm just, I use my gut instinct.
Wow, that's, Not a lot of people know that they've got that sense in there, that sixth sense.
Yeah.
You know, that we should really go with our gut. If I'm walking down a dark alley and I'm thinking, this isn't cool, like I shouldn't be here, but I'll keep going.
Silly.
You know, it's silly. Your sixth sense is that saying to you. Yeah.
That's why this stuff's dangerous.
What's that?
Phone. Sitting on your phone, it actually stops people from using their instincts. It's thinking for them. It's giving them the dopamine hits. It's kind of doing all the stuff and the things that your body should be doing and taking them from the extremities and the environment around you. This becomes your environment, and it's so dangerous.
Have you seen the Netflix movie called Megan?
Is that the one with the robot?
Yes.
I think I have. You have to remind me. So
Megan is an AI, and what had happened is the little girl was in a car with her family.
Yes, I have.
The car had they had an accident. The parents had died.
Yeah.
So the little girl gets to her auntie, and her auntie is a creator of AI. So they create Megan to be a support person. But the one thing that they asked Megan to do was that under no circumstances will you allow the young girl to be injured or to be harmed or to be hurt. So, of course, the learning that the machine had done was that, oh, okay, I get the message. Anyone that harms the person I'm protecting will be in my way.
Yeah.
And so now what's happened is that I'm thinking what's going on with AI is that the more machine learning that we're doing, I think it's not going to work for us. And I'll give you a very good example about machine learning.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were to grab, and I'll ask anyone at home if they want to do this, if you were to grab and jump on Google and you type in black couples.
Yep.
In a Google search, what you will get is black couples.
Yeah.
Male, female, male, male, female, female, all black.
Yeah.
If you type into Google white couples, what do you think you get?
You get a mix.
Yes.
Yes, I know. We because we're in creativity. So a lot of the things when we go into Pixels, Unsplash,
yes,
and we look for our photos, it is overwhelming. It's like trying to find the white person. It's gone completely the other way.
Why is that? Why are we so protective of
virtue?
Why are we at this point now in our lives that the white male, and I'll go just white male, the white male in a lot of ads that I will see, whether it's on YouTube or Rumble or if I do get to watch a bit of TV, all the white males are stupid white males. They're the idiot. It's like they've dumbed down the white male so much that we are now not brave and smart and intelligent and protective. We're just idiots.
Well, that's because in the last decade we've had the rise of the empower women, women's movements, glass ceilings, and all of these women leaders saying, and look, Jordan Peterson talks about it a lot. They all want these top positions, but none of them are pushing, the equality under equality. But where are the women that are pushing for the positions in the mines and the mechanics industries and all the hard jobs where they've got to do the hard slog, in the army, being in the trenches? And there are a small, but it's disproportionate for women in those kind of like lower level jobs. They're only fighting for it in the C-suite. The ones
what's the C-suite? So
like all the big high-end jobs, like your leadership roles, your kind of your boss roles, but CEOs, decision makers, all that kind of stuff. I don't care whether you've got lady bits or man bits. We should be looking at the ability for people to do a job. I think the whole thing and the argument with men and women and all that kind of, it's just gone too far. It's silly. We just need to take people for what their abilities are. And if a man, but if a woman had equal ability and on paper it's stacked up, then the man would always get the job. Then we need to take it a step further and put tests in place and to eradicate that. But it's not about going, okay, well, you know what? Men have had their fill for the better part of however many years, so let's just give all the women all the credit. And I think that's where the equilibrium shifted.
Let's talk about that for a second. So what's happened in the last month, 2 months, and probably over the last 10 years is I used to fly with Qantas a lot.
Yeah.
I was a frequent flyer. I was in their membership club. And then slowly I started to work out that it was really hard to redeem some of my points. And it got increasingly more difficult. And then I realised during the COVID period that airlines were just falling over. Yeah. Right? They were falling over. They couldn't fly. They weren't making any money. But Qantas, for example, was being propped up by the taxpayer. Both of us sitting here, we were helping Qantas to stay alive. So now Alan Joyce had given his resignation and he was to leave in November of this year. It's been brought forward so much that he left today or yesterday.
Did he?
Yeah, he left yesterday. So he's resigned. He's handed in his keys to the proverbial plane. So here is a white international male, part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Job. Thank you. I think I missed out 2. Oh. Did I miss out the 2?
I think there's like 100 and something of them.
2 spirited or something. I don't know what that means, but I think I'm feeling a bit too spirited right now. Which is I'm floored. I don't know. So, but they're going to replace him now with what you were talking about, that C class. So they're going to replace him with a woman.
Of course they are.
Oh, you say that with such conviction.
Well, because it's just obvious.
Planned. Is it planned?
It's obvious. You can't... It's like textbook. They're literally following a plan.
Yeah.
And people are about it. And whatever people are doing that, and there'll come a time again when that'll flip and something else will change.
Is that a bad thing? Like,
no, I'm not mad about it. I don't care as long as she does the job.
Right.
I actually don't care. If she's a woman or a man, who cares? I don't care. Can she do the job? You know, and we've lost it. Everything is like a popularity contest. It's like even your politicians. Great. Who cares if we like them? We don't care if he cuddles kittens or whatever have you. Can he do the job? Can he do the job? Is he making good on the promises that he's made that got him elected in the first place? And is he actually contributing to society? Look at it. But most people won't do it because most people just want to look on TikTok and buy into the marketing campaign. Look how cool he is. He's doing this and he's showing up here and he's buddies with this guy, because that's the limited capacity people have. They're not going to go and understand politics. They don't care enough. They just want to be seen to be part of a crew. It's virtue signaling on steroids.
Yes. Let's talk about that now. See, I can go from one to the
next.
Let's
do it. I'm in.
So, are you on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Oh, you are on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
I'm noticing more so on LinkedIn than anywhere else that there are people that have got their pronouns. So they've got their, she, her, him, he. I saw one the other day which was on Rachel Wong's page. So she's the CEO for Women's Forum Australia. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And somebody had made a comment, and I saw this other woman put her comment on there, and her pronouns were whoop-de-doo. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that, though.
You're not a fan of?
I'm not a fan of someone doing that. Like, I think if somebody wants to say that they are a frog, let them say that they're a frog, but don't demand that I do it.
Let them say that they're a frog.
I don't know, sorry. I'm just being ridiculous. Yeah. Let them say that they're a he, him, or a they, them, or whatever it is that you want to. It's fine. Knock yourself out, but don't demand that I do that. That's
the Jordan Peterson line, isn't it?
What is it?
Well, it is. It's the whole. I'm not really concerned about how you identify. I'm good with that.
I'm not.
Like I'm cool with that. If you want to be whoop-de-doo, or if you want to be, he, him, she, she, they, them, I'm good with that. But his line is, but you can't force me. You can't demand me to say that. Like
I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I also don't like...
But isn't that just now respect? Isn't that just out of respect? Is it if you said to me, hey, Gerald, how you going? I'm Hayley. He, her. Sorry. She, her. She, her. Out of respect, shouldn't I go, thank you. Thank you for highlighting that. I'm Gerald. He, him.
No.
No.
No, because you're not. You're just Gerald if that's your modus operandi.
Yeah.
Like for me, I would not say, hello, I'm Hayley, she, her. I would literally just say I'm Hayley and allow people to use their eyes and not assume that people are idiots. And like, I'm okay. If somebody wants to assume that I'm a male based on what they're looking at, fine. If you want to assume I'm female, fine. Like when did we... It's so typical of like the whole aesthetics and kind of... We're buying into that again. It's just mental. I don't like any of it because for me, life's confusing enough. We just need to take things on face value. And you know what? Respectfully, where's the respect the other way? Why do we have to... I don't get that. So
I'd like to use my hourglass as another analogy.
I like it.
Maybe do you think what's happening is that we're in now this era where we are changing. We are using pronouns a lot. We are now falling into the narrative. We've got to have the mask. We've got to have the vaccine. We've got to have go Ukraine. We've got to promote all that. Do you think it'll one day just shift back and it'll be like, nah, we're not doing that anymore? You know how the pendulum swings? I'm going to use this as my analogy glass from now on.
Yes, but it won't be, I wish.
Yeah.
But it won't ever be, it won't be like that. and I don't think, not in our lifetime anyway, there won't be a time, probably not even in our kids, where things are going to flip so hectic as they already have. Because we've felt massive shifts, right, in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Despite everybody, it's been coming for years. Yeah, but you know what? We're all just feeling the weight of it now. So when you do look back and you go back down the rabbit holes, you're like, oh my goodness, yeah, it happened here, and here's the lead in. And these things that they've been doing have been happening for decades.
What do you say to people that just go, she's going down the rabbit hole, so she's a trumper. She's a trumpeter. So she's right wing. And I think that the terminology now is RWL, so right wing loony.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so if you say something that's not fitting in to the narrative that mainstream media wants you to fit into, so that you now become a right-wing loony.
Great, but just because you disagree with my thoughts, feelings and actions doesn't make me anything. At the end of the day, I can sit and have a conversation with you, and as a result of this, listening to people, interacting, I could change my mind.
Yeah.
There was the time where I was Trump, and then now I'm kind of like, well, and that's me sitting in that indoctrination of the mainstream media growing up.
Yeah.
Now, hindsight, maturity, experience happens. I go, you know what? It's all the bloody same.
It is.
It's all the same.
Yes.
None of it is. When you start buying into this left, right, Trump, Biden, Dan Andrews, Gladys Berejiklian, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's you're choosing a side. Just be open to all of it. I'm not I try really, really hard. I have to actively try now to kind of when somebody says, oh, Trump, I'm like, meh.
Yeah.
What will be, will be.
Yeah.
Because we don't have anything to do with it.
That's so
What
true.
was it that George Carlin said? It's a big club and we're not invited.
Ooh, go George Carlin. There is another great analogy. I don't know if I can use my hourglass for the... I might have to. I can use my hourglass.
I like it. I think we should stick with it. It's working.
I like my hourglass as the analogy. I'm thinking now I'm going sideways.
Oh, I love it.
Sideways now, what I have is that I have people on the left. Look how this is now evened up more. We've got people on the left and we have people on the right. Yeah. And the government is in the middle, calling the shots. And they're going, you know what? No, you don't.
The thing that you're holding in your hand,
yes,
the external, is the government.
Right.
The thing in the middle
is
the 1% of people that choose not to be left or right.
Right.
The people that sit.
You've mucked up my hourglass.
I'm so sorry.
No, but you could be right though. I think the whole thing is around we're gonna divide you. That's what our goal is. Our goal is to divide you.
Correct.
And the referendum's doing this.
Yes.
I wish we had a referendum up here actually in Queensland that said that we should have daylight savings. Now let me ask you: are you for or against daylight savings?
I think that we need to jump on. I loved living in Sydney when I was in Sydney.
Yeah.
The alfresco lifestyle. I think it's incredible. I think the whole selling it on the farmers and all the rest of it's just an absolute crock, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a bit wrong. You know, China.
Rubbish.
You know, China only has one time zone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
One end to the other. It's like the distance from here to Perth.
Yeah.
And I don't care. There's no time. There's no daylight savings. There's no different time zones.
I'd love to go to bed and it still kind of like daylight at 8, 9 o'clock, whatever it is, because it gives me opportunity to spend time with my family of an evening.
True.
Be outside, have a barbecue outside. We just don't get that luxury. Especially in Queensland, I think that,
And I think what the government has done again is that they've divided, they've divided now the states by saying, New South Wales has it, but Queensland won't have
They're
it.
pretty bloody good at that in Australia.
They're
Look
good.
at the Maroons and the Blues.
Oh.
We're conditioned.
We are.
100% conditioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to kind of break it. Everything is us versus them. People love competition. They love it. Yet they spend their entire time. It's not a competition. Everybody gets a participation ribbon.
They do. We all need a medal. Did you know the Matildas are getting a plaque?
They're getting a statue.
No, I think, is it a statue? Not. There's not going to be all 12 of them or 13 at the Suncorp Stadium.
You know what? It is the most ridiculous thing. I understand. It is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
They come forth.
Look, celebrate them.
Yep.
Celebrate them for their achievement. Incredible. It was beautiful.
Well done.
I went and I participated and I was losing my skidoo nip. I was cheering for them. But why would you rob them of their experience of trying harder, you know. I think we've just lost it. We've bloody lost it. Okay, yes, and you did something incredible, but celebrate them for that.
Yeah.
Don't give them a plaque for. You can give them.
What will the plaques say though? Because they come fourth, but in the FIFA standings, they're now 11th. So it's not like it's. I mean, let's celebrate that we have a whole bunch of women, our greatest women players, who don't even live here in Australia. Let's celebrate them and put a plaque up that they never get to see because they live in the UK.
Well, do we need to celebrate the Matildas or the marketing team behind Matildas?
Ouch.
You know?
Yes.
Because the reality of it is they did an incredible job of making people care about soccer that wouldn't have cared about it before. There's people watching soccer that have never been interested, in myself included, despite coming from a soccer family with a very famous soccer player in my family. So I've just never cared.
Whoa. A very famous soccer player in your family.
Gary Birtles. Shout out to Gary Birtles.
Gary Birtles. Oh, Birtless.
Birtless.
Gary Birtles. Okay, never heard of him.
Yeah, a star striker in the 80s. He's a radio commentator. Everybody in the UK would know who he is.
Okay,
Nottingham Forest.
Okay. So you've come from a family of sports people, soccer players.
Yeah.
What would he say about this if he heard that Australia's putting up a statue?
Politically, he would probably say,
Great.
Good on you. You know, anything that's bringing eyes to soccer is great. Personally, I can't speak on his behalf, but I would assume, or I can say that I would like him to say that it's absolutely ridiculous. And these guys, it just rips things away from these guys that have slaved their guts out to kind of get themselves through the ranks. None of them got leg ups. You don't get celebrated for coming fourth. It's just not a thing. And I don't think...
But you said it earlier. You said everyone gets a medal.
No, they shouldn't. But they shouldn't.
No.
And in the spirit of equality, you know, women shouldn't want that for themselves either. You know, earn it. Don't just be happy just to take the bloody consolation prize. That actually speaks into the very thing that you're trying to stand up against. You know what I mean? Like, earn your position. If you want true equality, then earn it. Don't just take the consolation prize and be like, oh, yeah, we won. There's a lot of things that they won as a result of that whole rollout. But a trophy wasn't one of them.
Are you a feminist? In the true sense.
No.
First wave feminist.
No.
Not second or third, not fourth wave feminist. No. My mother was a feminist.
No. I don't think I am.
Well, she was the one who was, my mother would be the sort of person who would say, you know what, if I want to wear a bikini on the beach, I'm going to wear a bikini. And if I want to burn my bra, I'm going to burn my bra. And if I want to go out there and vote, I'm going to go out there and vote.
I don't know if that makes me a feminist or just somebody that's just super defiant.
You're not defiant, though. You're all about women's rights.
Disruption.
But you're about women's rights, aren't you?
No.
Like that's what feminism should be about. In the first wave, it's
I'm about humans' rights.
Okay. All right.
As opposed to feminine or men. I am a mother of a son. My husband is my best friend. You know, men are so very important.
Yeah.
Like desperately important. And I think that right now men are actually copying it. You know, where are all of our strong men? Why are they being told that they're less than? And I will not hear a word of that. I want my son to grow up. He's bloody awesome. He's a good human being. He's kind, he's caring, he's considerate, and he's hardworking. He's all of those things. He's a bit disruptive. I don't know where he gets that from.
Can I then put this to you? Do you know Lisa Wilkinson?
Yeah.
Do you remember her saying to all the parents out there, teach your boys not to rape? Do you remember her saying that when she was on the news?
Yes. Well, I don't remember her saying it verbatim, but I am aware of it. Yeah.
Teach your boys not to rape. Does that...
Well, teach your girls to present themselves in a way that doesn't invite opportunity. That is a controversial topic right there.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So
if we had more time, we've got 2 minutes left.
I know.
This is incredible.
Part two.
So, because I'm going to disagree with you here or challenge you on this, is I think women should be allowed what they to wear whatever they want to wear, to dress however they want to dress, to have pronouns and identify as however they want.
Yes.
It should be up to the rest of the population to be going to do something like, I have impulse control. Yeah. I have constraint.
Yeah.
I think that's where the teaching should be.
Agreed.
But I know what you're saying is you're saying...
But that should be for both men and women, correct? So impulse control and restraint should be for both men and women. And I think, you know, what I don't want to see is... It pains me when I'm scrolling through TikTok and you see these women... Cool, you have the right to do it. If you want to wear your bikini and kind of do... And you have your bouncy bits. Some of it... I'm sitting here talking about this, and I sometimes will take photos and be like, I know what gets attention, but there's a line.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of this stuff is borderline soft pornographic. And I think that if we're not teaching our children healthy boundaries, men and women across the board, that's where things go horribly wrong, you know? I think it's not good. And it's the same thing from when we come with, you know, child trafficking. You know, there's a big push like men are the pedophiles, some creepy men sitting in their thing. It's actually so incredibly wrong. You know, there's a lot of women that do predatory stuff, etc. Big topic, huge topic. I'd love to actually talk about that in a part 2 or 3.
I would love to. There is a. Have you heard of Soft White Underbelly? So Soft White Underbelly is hosted by a guy called Mark Laita, right? Mm-hmm. So he just sits on a stool and he interviews people.
Yeah.
And the woman that he had on a couple of weeks ago was a nurse. Mm-hmm. And she got put into a trauma nurse situation. Right. But not only in trauma nursing as in you're working now in the, what do we call it, the first... emergency department, the ED. But she was working with forensics. So she was doing the whole, what happened to this baby? Why did this baby die?
Yeah.
It nearly broke her.
Yeah.
But she's got a great support system around her. And watching her in that whole video, the question was asked is, why are men so abusive to their children? And she just went, it's not the men. She said statistics shows that there's more women. Yes. I just got goosebumps. Did you?
Yes. And it's so true. And you know what? It's such a heavy topic that most people will avoid it, like the plague, because they don't want to talk about it. But
I just got shocked by that. I didn't agree with it or disagree. I just went, what?
Well, women are manipulative, and they have the capacity to... We're very intelligent creatures. We're highly manipulative. And that's just... I mean, I'm not saying anything shocking. It's just the way that we are. It's actually our makeup. And same with men. Like, they have a specific makeup, and they should be allowed to be that way, but be encouraged to do it without breaking boundaries, like you said earlier. And same for women. We shouldn't stop using manipulation in a healthy way, because that's the reality of it. Manipulation is probably not it's a strong word, but it's the right word. People do manipulate and whatever have you, but where's the line? And if we don't have any lines and we're just letting people go crazy and saying, yeah, sure, walk down the middle of a street with your bikini on and your arse end hanging out. Come on. That's not women's rights. That's teaching your children that it's not right. It's not self-respect, and it's not something I would be teaching my children, I can tell you that much.
And I think that's where the interesting part comes about, where people's values lie, is that it's not something that you would teach your children. I don't have any children, so it would be something that I would know I would never teach my children. But I think there are going to be some people that would say, you know, you're trying to box people into a certain area. What you're trying to do, Hayley, is you're trying to say that everyone should be fitting into this box here, and you're not allowing that freedom. So if I want to go and have my jiggly bits down on the beach and show my jiggly bits, who are you to tell me I can't have my jiggly bits
No
out?
one. You should absolutely go and do that if that's what you want to do. But nothing happens in this world without consequence. You can do anything you like. You just have to have the confidence to deal with the ramifications. And so there means you have to set your intention. And if you're doing things from a good intent and you're a good human being and you're checking in on yourself, you should be good. And that's moral compass stuff.
Hayley, you're a good human being.
Thank you.
Do you want to do this again?
Yeah, I'd love
I think
to.
we've got so much more.
I would so love to.
Like, there's too much more that we got to cover.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, we went, we got two people with ADHD sitting in the room, and it's going all over the place. But I think we can nut it down. We can be a little bit more structured. But I think it went really well. I think it went great. And I'm going to keep my little hourglass as our analogy glass.
Do you know what I have as my analogy?
Tell me.
It's the Tesla ball.
Tell me.
So basically, the glass on the outside is what happens to you environmentally. you're the core in the middle, and then when people touch your zzz, and when people take your finger off, like that can happen to you, and there's a draw.
Oh.
I explain that a lot, but we talk about that through branding and attention seeking, how that works.
I love that. One more question before you go.
Sure.
Is the Earth flat?
I don't know, but I know it's not a ball.
Oh, well, we know it's spherical.
Yeah.
So-
I don't look. I'm open again. I'm
Gosh.
so open to.
Part two.
Yeah, I'm so open. I'm open to all realms of possibility, but I can tell you the one thing that I do know: we're not floating around on a shiny marble, on a CGI photograph. We're just not.
I've got too many more questions. Like I've got way too many more questions. Like, do you think there's another life out there? Do you think?
Of course. How arrogant would we be to think that if we can
We're
bloody...
going to disagree with some stuff.
Well, if we exist, it's possible for other people to exist.
No.
No? Okay.
Why would they want to recreate this race?
Not this.
Oh, not this.
Not this. I just
Something
think
else.
a derivative of, no different from dogs. Got all sorts of different versions of dogs. You know, they wouldn't necessarily kind of like hang out together, but they just different versions. I don't... Look, I've gone through so many ranges. Like, I'm like, it is a flat earth. No,
Yeah.
it's not. You go through, and this is being open to everything and having a conversation.
Yeah.
I want to know more about your theory on why would you need another race? That's cool. That's a cool, interesting thing to talk about. So I'm interested to know what would land you there. What's everything that you've looked at that has brought you to that point?
Oh, look, we're going to get
Not
into
now.
this.
I didn't mean... No, I meant that as
but
a
I'm going to
time.
get into this because I'm all evidence-based,
Yeah.
which means if I don't see it, but people tell me it exists, I don't know if it exists. And
Yeah.
the great question is,
Tangible.
well, for you, does Peru exist?
I've never been.
So you don't know if it exists.
Just being told it is.
You've just been told.
Yeah.
And I've been to Peru, but I don't know whether I went up in a plane, whether I even left a plane. Oh, gosh, I sound like I'm a shapeshifter. I don't even know whether the plane actually left, if it was even a plane, or whether it was just, there's so much that we got to talk about.
You question absolutely
Everything.
Yeah. I love
need
it.
evidence. I need evidence. I need to
Of
see
course.
the hard fact. I need to see it in front of me.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. With the sheer magnitude of gaslighting and cognitive dissonance that's actually been deployed as a result of propaganda pushing all sorts of craziness, some of it legit, some of it not. It's really hard to discern, so it would make sense that you would think that way.
Hayley Birtles-Eades,
You
thank
did
you
it
so
right.
much for being on. And if you think that Hayley should be back here and you've got some questions that you would like to ask Hayley, you need to put it in the comments section, because I know not everyone's watching this right now. Put it in the comments section and say, what's Hayley's theory on the comet? Hayley's comet. See what I did there? What's Hayley's theory on evolution? Does Hayley actually have a theory about the hourglass? I don't know. It's up to you. Put it in the comments. Thank you for being on. We're going to have you back. I'm talking like I've got a team of producers.
You do.
I do. It's
You
everyone
do.
around here changing cameras.
There's a whole
and
thing.
Everything's working in here. Hayley, we'll see you again.
Thanks for having
Bye,
me.
everyone. Bye, everyone. Be good and be good to your parents. Cheers, Rudy. Have fun. Bye.